y'all, it's Jess from Sunflower Dairy, and today I am out in the greenhouse and I'm going to be digging up some of the dahlias that I had in the garden this past summer. So I put a lot of the dahlias in the garden in flower pots so that it would be easier for me to dig them up this winter. And a lot of times you can leave your dahlias out until you get a mild frost, but I put mine in flower pots so that I could move them into the greenhouse so that I wouldn't have to dig up the dahlia tubers right away, because I knew I was going to have tons to do when our first freeze was coming. So they've been just chilling in the greenhouse, and it's finally at the point where things outside are slowing down quite a bit. So now I have time to do this, and these have not frozen at all in the greenhouse. It's been really warm in here. Let's check the temperature real quick. So the temperature, it's just under 70 degrees, which I believe it because I walked in here and it's way too warm for me to have a jacket on. So, and it's about in between 30 and 40 degrees outside. So, and this greenhouse is not heated. So you can see that just the light and the sun really heats up the greenhouse quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and dig up these dahlia tubers. So why people dig up dahlia tubers is because they're kind of like a bulb. Like, you can dig them up and then store them over the winter and then replant them in the spring, and then you'll be able to just, keep digging them up and then planting them and then digging them up and planting them. So you get to keep doing that, which if you're zone 5B, 6A like I am, it gets pretty cold here and we get those freezes that can last quite a while. And dahlias aren't super cold sensitive, but if they do get frozen for quite a long time, they most likely won't come back the next year. So it's the safest thing to do for them is to dig them up just before you get a freeze, so that way you know that they're going to be safe. So I'm going to go ahead and dig these up and see what we got in here, because when you plant your dahlia tubers, they're usually 1 or 2 dahlia tubers, but then they multiply. So it'll be pretty interesting to see how many we actually have in here. That's the other thing that's super easy, is you just put them in a flower pot and you can pull out the whole thing and then just kind of loosen up the dirt. But you got to be very careful with your dahlia tubers, because you don't want to snap any off, because yes, dahlia tubers can be divided, but you want to make sure that when they're divided properly and in the right spot, because if you just snap one off, then most likely it's not going to be where you wanted it to be, and then that dahlia tuber is not going to be able to grow the next year. But if you do snap one off, you can just save it, plant it, and see if anything happens, because if you don't plant something, then how do you know that it's not good? So if you don't plant something, you'll never know. Wow, I am pretty happy with that. That is a big old clump of tubers. Look at all those tubers. So a lot of people, they will either rinse these off, or you can just shake off the dirt and get it off as best you can without snapping any off. But you do want to cure these, but you don't want them to dry out so much that they just lose their actual shape and they just shrink right down. You want them to stay about the size that they are. You just want them to kind of not be, you know, you don't want tons of moisture, because if you have tons of moisture when you're storing them, then sometimes they will rot or mold. So you want to make sure that they're cured so that hopefully that won't happen. But just look at all those. Those are pretty good size. So like I said, when you plant dahlias, it's usually just a couple dahlia tubers. So this has really multiplied quite a bit, which is pretty cool. And so we'll get these cleaned off, and then I will be storing them. And a lot of people either use peat moss or vermiculite, or some people even do shavings. They'll store them in there. So they'll put them in there through the winter. Then they'll kind of, you want to check on them every once in a while to see, one, if there is still some moisture in there, and if they are starting to rot, then you want to let them dry out a little bit so that they're not rotting. Or you can check and see if, two, they're drying up way too much. So in this case, you just want to lightly mist them. You don't want to put too much on there, because like I said, they can rot. But you just want to lightly mist them so that they're not drying up completely, which is most likely what I'm going to have to do, because we have a wood stove. That's what we heat with. So that takes a lot of the moisture out of the air. So most likely I'm going to have to do that. But just look at that. Alright, I have a few more to dig up, so let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so here's another one. If you all remember some of the dahlias in my garden tour videos, you know, there was the red and white ones, and there was the light purple ones and pink ones, and we should be able to have multiple different dahlia varieties seed from all of those. Oh, I can already see there's a ton in here. Definitely glad that I planted them like this, because then I don't have to go out there when the ground is, you know, getting a shovel out there and trying to get them out. So this is pretty much the easiest way. And like I said, I could just keep them in the greenhouse so I was ready to do this. I didn't have to worry about them freezing and trying to do this while I was trying to get the other stuff out of the garden before a freeze. Look at those. That's quite a few. They're good size too. Look at that. Lots of dahlia tubers. Alright, there's one more that I need to dig up. So, and then you can see I got most of the dirt off, so I can plant them in here again next year. Alright, let's check this out, see what we have in here. You know, and if some of you don't have a greenhouse, if you plant dahlias in a flower pot, you can always bring them inside, or if you have a garage or a garden shed or anything like that, you know, just anything to get them out of the weather, and then when you're ready, you can take them out. But like I said, then you don't have to worry about when the ground is starting to freeze really fast, or maybe you're busy, or you got something else going on, or you're not home, you're not able to get them dug out of the ground, you know, you can just check your weather and see. If you think freeze is coming, then just get them inside, and then you don't gotta worry about it. That is a good batch of Dahlia tubers too. Look at all of those. Alright, check out all of these. That is so many plants. Because a lot of times it only takes one Dahlia tuber to grow a plant. So that is a ton of plants right there. Like I said, you can separate these. I'm probably not going to. I'm probably just going to keep them all together. So that way I'm less likely to break them. But just look at that. I have places in the garden where I can plant big, massive flowers. So I'm not worried about that. But just check that out. Alright all, I'm going to go take care of these and get them stored, but I thought you wanted to come along and see all of these crazy Dahlia tubers. Alright all, thank you for watching. Have a blessed day.